Hello, let's go for a walk today. Check out the village. Jesus lives here. And also we got hedgehogs. Sexual morality is not a contentious issue. It's the kind of issue where if you're a dissident, then society just wants to lock you up, right? Get rid of you, kill you. There is no debate. Everything just gets normalized as if it is a fact. As if the morality is a fact. You can't disagree with it. There's no political opposition to the sex laws because all parties, both sides or however many sides you have, they all agree on all the criminalization of sexuality. There can only be some extremely irrelevant details on the fringes of like what kind of pronouns you're supposed to use or something. Nothing substantial can be debated in the mainstream. But what they're actually going to criminalize is completely and entirely settled. I mean, it's settled in the way that feminists get to simply make up the rules completely. They can criminalize exactly what they want, and nobody is in opposition to that. You know, I tried, but when I try, I simply get imprisoned or deplatformed, right? Speaking against the sexual morality, it's like free soloing, like rock climbing without a rope. Like one wrong word, and you're gone, banned. Dead on that platform. Happened to me on Twitter twice. On my first account lasted 10 years. And my second, which was my company account for fertile dating, lasted 3 years. And then it was banned with no explanation, simply because I am a dissident on the sex laws. So now I'm only speaking in these abstract terms, this rough outline of which doesn't address the detail. Because if you address the details, then you're gone. You fall down and you're dead. But I can compare to another kind of intolerant ideology that did the same thing. I wonder if that had been contentious today. I mean, leiermål, the Norwegian word leiermål. How they used to criminalize it back in the 1700s. Check out my blog post on leiermål. I'm explaining what those laws were. You can see they pretty much hit the same things as feminism does now, with a totally different theoretical justification, right? Now everything is abuse. All of sexuality is abuse. Anything you want to criminalize, you just claim that somebody is being abused. And then the normies go along with it. But when they believed in leiermål, I don't even know if the people believed it, but you had the government stating that it was an offense against God, right? God is offended. That doesn't fly anymore. Now you gotta say that somebody's being abused. And there's no limit. No limit to how far you can take that. You can take it to pure fiction, and the normies will go along with that being abuse material as well, or dolls or whatever. Everything related to sexuality is now abuse, and that's not a contentious issue. And how we deal with dissent is simply to lock them up, right? You're not allowed to disagree. You are a dissident, and you're a criminal too. And everyone's a criminal, but we pretend that this isn't universal criminality, that it is. We pretend that men are not obligate criminals, men are not obligate sex offenders, right? Because the witch hunt is too imprecise to catch 99% of it. The catch is actually less than 1% of the sexual offenses, right? So you can have this double standard, this hypocrisy, where you pretend to not be a sex offender. You're an normie. You believe that you are in compliance with these laws, right? That's what you can pretend as long as we don't shine a light on it. It's only random where you shine that light. But whenever you shine a light on sexuality, it is always criminality today. Always abuse. Always. Sexuality is a crowbar of brute force that if you want to use brute force against anyone, you just make a sexual accusation and the system takes care of it. That's how you access the monopoly violence, via sexual accusations. And there is just lockstep agreement that sexuality must be criminalized to the max. But let's imagine if it were the same prohibitions were based on a different ideology, like leiermål was. Let's just pretend that and see if it would be contentious. I suspect that maybe that ideology could have been contentious today, which is why it's gone, right? because it's not contentious now. You're not allowed to frame it in a contentious way. You only frame it in a so-called fact that everything is abuse. All of sexuality is abuse. And then there is total universal agreement that it needs to be punished as hard as you can, and all of politics is just a contest to see how hard we can punish it. So when you had somebody like Epstein died, right? You can, he is just a focal point of that complete lack of contentiousness. You have this complete universal agreement that he was a monster, right? He's my hero, by the way. I'm just as bad as he is, and you hate me just as much, and I feel that hate. So the best that they can do is maybe come up with some conspiracy that he was murdered or something. Except that's not in any shape or form dissidence in this. That is just denial of how bad it is. Yes, it is a conspiracy, but the people who make up different conspiracy theories are in on that one big conspiracy to suppress sexuality, to punish all the sexuality they can. That is their morality, their uncontested ideology on both sides, and both can accuse each other of being sex offenders, right? They don't realize they're the real monsters. They killed Epstein by making this hateful system that kills men, like him and Nathan Larson. Any of us dead men walking who are just, who knows when they'll get to us, right? We have no business in society because we're sexually egocentric men. We don't believe in their morality. And that puts us in this position of being beyond debate. There's no political party we can join. We can't explain our ideology on a platform like this. If I get specific, I get banned. And everyone would be happy, so happy to kill me, right? Anything that could happen to me would be seen as a good thing. My own family betrayed me when I was arrested, right? That's how uncontentious sexuality is. It's not a contentious issue. They're not able to see it as a contentious issue. We're fighting the battle for the battle. The battle for the battle. Any opinion I can have will not be acknowledged as an opinion. It will be simply seen as a symptom of evil or insanity or something like that. Criminality, insanity, evil. All things that are just a matter of pest control to deal with. It's not a political conflict, it's merely, oh yes, it's the battle between good and evil. And they may think they're on the good side. But what you cannot think is that we're on the same side. That we are not. We are on different sides. I cannot be reformed to be on your side. See, your only option, yes, exactly like they treat it, is pest control. I'm just a dead man walking. I have no business in society because I don't believe in their sexual morality. Oh, it's so surreal to be an open dissident, which is to say an enemy of the state. 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 Enemy of society. Even though I'm just like everybody else. So what differs is my lack of going along with this charade as if I'm one of them who pretend to denounce sexuality. They don't do it by action, they only do it by ideology and by this random persecution, right? So here I am, the dead man walking. I'm not one of you. Not one of you. Because I don't believe in your anti-sex bigotry. I don't believe in your sexual morality, which is feminism, which is the only game in town because it's not a contentious issue. Sexuality is not a contentious issue. All the anti-sex laws have been so normalized that the normies believe they are facts rather than feminist opinions. They believe something like the age of consent of 16 is reflecting a fact that if the younger are abused when they have sex, right? They think this is a fact. The normies literally believe that's a fact rather than a feminist superstition or feminist opinion, right? They don't even think it's an opinion, they think it's a fact. And they have forgotten that feminism did it or justified it this time around. This incarnation of anti-sex bigotry is justified by feminist ideology, even though they have criminalized most of the same things before. Like everything outside of marriage, they have criminalized before on that totally different justification, right? Not that it was abused, because, but it was offensive to God. And this time it's equally bad as that, plus it's worse. Because they don't even make an exception for marriage anymore. It's just as much abuse and fake rape inside marriage as it is outside to feminist ideology. So it's not a contentious issue. Nobody can consider what I'm saying here as a political opinion. They can only consider it sick. You're not going to disagree with me, you're just going to dismiss me as sick. or some variety of that kind of pest control thing, like I'm sick, criminal, evil, never simply a political dissident that I am. Yeah. So before we can have that political debate, we need to make it a contentious issue. A contentious issue that can actually be debated. And is that possible? I have my doubts, because was it contentious in the 1700s? Was that Christian moralism contentious back then? You know, if you somehow made feminism obsolete, would we simply go back to something like that? And we would have equally non-contentious sexual morality based on something else that was probably almost as intolerant as what we have now. Plus, they've destroyed all principles of justice, right? We don't have a right to jury anymore. There's no statute of limitations on these sex crimes, most of them. And that's not contentious either, because there's only one opinion in the mainstream. That is to punish as much as you can of sexuality, as hard as possible. Make those definitions as broad as possible. Expand them as much as possible, all the time, as much as you can. No matter how far you go, it's never enough. Never, never, never enough. Like the latest, just a few days ago, we took it further than I had imagined before, when it is now pushed to be criminalized. Just the failure to report so-called signs of child sexual abuse, right? If you know something about it, like previously you had to treat minors as lepers, you must avoid them in order to be a non-criminal, and avoid communicating with them, avoid looking at pictures of them, avoid creating fictional works about them. But now you're going to take it one step further. Now if you also know something about them, no matter what it is, anything can be a sign, then you are criminalized for failure to reporting that to. See how this mission creep has gone beyond absurdity into it is so fucking insane. And it's non-contentious. Maybe that last cutting edge that they haven't yet made a law about, that failure to report signs. Maybe that can still be debated. It's not really a debate, but they can pretend to debate it, right? On the way to passing that law too. And then it gets normalized, like the rest. There's nothing contentious about it. It is the one morality, the only morality. There's only one, there can only be one sexual morality. That is maximum intolerance, maximum bigotry, maximum punishment. And another thing, notice how all taboos are criminal, right? There cannot be anything like a taboo that's not criminal anymore. But also, there is absolutely zero adventurousness. Nobody in the mainstream can condone any level of sexual adventurousness. Everything is. They don't call it sin anymore, they call it abuse. Everything to do with sexuality is abuse. Whenever you shine a light on sexuality, you always find criminality. And you find new ways to make it ever more criminal. The intolerance of this society to sexuality is just so absurd. It's what has turned me against civilization, right? Because I'm not one of them. I didn't internalize it. I didn't become one of them. You can think of it along this axis of erotophobia and erotophilia. Right? I'm an erotophile. Society is erotophobia institutionalized, right? Maximum intolerance to sexuality. I was never susceptible to that because I'm an erotophile. And of course, most people are not naturally erotophobes. It's just that sentiment has won out and become established as the only morality, the only attitude that is permissible in this society. And these normies are so afraid, even though they're not like that, they're so afraid to admit anything else than that maximum erotophobia. So that is what they go along with. When they are cogs in these institutions, this artificial intelligence that is programmed with erotophobia, they live this double life where they enforce these hateful norms no matter what they do privately. Of course, they're sex offenders privately like everyone else, but they help enforce it because it's being enforced by the bureaucracy, which is an artificial intelligence, which now runs on anti-sex bigotry, feminist anti-sex bigotry. It's a hopeless situation. I feel survivor's guilt that I'm walking here and Nathan Larson is dead, Jeffrey Epstein is dead, right? They were no worse than I am. I don't deserve to be living while those are disposed of by this civilization. But the normies think they are so much better. They think they are different. There's nothing different about you except your denial of sexuality. You pretend you don't have a sexuality, right? That's just these other criminals like Nathan and me and all those that get persecuted all the time because they haven't gotten around to you, so you can pretend you're a normie. You don't have a sexuality, right? Yeah, right. So our first order of business is to make this a contentious issue. It needs to be debatable, right? Before we can debate it, we need to have it accepted as a contentious issue. That it's possible to disagree about it. Because that's the problem right now. It's treated as something you can't disagree with. Dissidents are to be locked up, removed from society, killed, whatever it takes. And there's this fantasy they can be reformed. Oh no. No. I am incorrigible. Can't be reformed. I am a male sexualist. See, we don't even have a word for it in that mainstream discourse. There's no word for a dissident except pathologizing words, right? And demonizing words. Not a word for the ideology which takes sexuality's side. So we had to make that word up ourselves, which is how we came to be called the sexualists. The male sexualists, or just the sexualists. That is the ideology which takes sexuality's side in the war on sex. That is my ideology. It's the opposite of feminism. So I used to call myself an anti-feminist, but nobody understands what that means because they don't think this is a contentious issue, and they think feminism is just about those fringe issues that feminism hasn't yet gotten around to normalizing as a non-contentious issue. So the normies, they are age cucks, they are feminists who don't consciously think how feminist they are. They don't think they're an age cuck for supporting the age of consent. They don't think they're a feminist because they think these laws are based on facts. That's what the normies literally believe. We need to make it a contentious issue. We need to fight the battle for the battle before we can fight the battle. And I don't see that happening. I don't see myself being treated as anything but a monster to be disposed of. There's nobody's meeting me in any kind of debate because they don't think this is debatable. They don't even listen to the arguments because they don't think it's subject to arguments. They think they have it all figured out with the feminist facts that are so factual that they don't even they don't need to be explained. They can't be debated, don't need to be explained because they're so supposedly self-explanatory, right? That's how hopeless the sex situation is. And which is why I've been praising Gail Twerberg for giving us hope. Because we can't hope to make this a contentious issue. But we can hope for civilization to collapse. We can hope very credibly for that. You can see where it's going. You can see where the economy is going, and our failure to replace fossil fuels in time, and now we're out of time. We don't have an energy source that gives enough net energy to fuel the economic activity, including the police state that the feminists require. So that's the only silver lining we have, folks. Unless you can pick up this torch and make a mass movement. Unless you can take sexuality's side and admit it, not just anonymously, but by your full name and face, identity, workplace, personal life, everywhere, and in politics, make an actual sexualist party. Somebody we can vote for to take sexuality's side. But no, it's not happening. I would love to be proven wrong, but I don't see sexualism gaining any ground. It's not happening. So our only hope then is to see the current system collapse. And that will hurt us too. We probably won't survive, but at least the feminists will suffer along with us.